Hello there. Welcome to Just the Dis. We talk about Blu-rays here. My name is Brian, and I am back with some more favorites of 2021. I should have known I couldn't get it all in even 3 videos because there was so much interesting stuff that came out this year. So I know I separated things out in the previous videos, but this is a mix of single releases, box sets, 4Ks, and I'm going to try and be quick. I always say that. But let me see how I can do this. We'll see if this works. But one thing I noticed I didn't talk much about was Criterion, and I think partially because I always feel like everybody knows Criterion and everybody appreciates them. But I felt like, they put out a lot of movies this year, and maybe that's cool to highlight some that maybe some folks didn't pay attention to, or maybe they did, whatever. But these are some of my favorites. I'll start with those. Nightmare Alley, just a really fantastic film noir starring Tyrone Power, Joan Blondell. Just really dark stuff about a guy who joins a carnival. Obviously, there's it's not exactly a remake. It's based on the same material, but the Guillermo del Toro film coming out is, inspired by the same material. And anyway, this is just a great film noir. It's just about a guy. The carnival aspect is a thing, and then he becomes sort of a mentalist, and it goes to some darker places, and just fantastic, and a movie that has been neglected on Blu-ray for years, and comes with some really nice tarot cards, which I think are great. Anyway, really nice set. And looks great on Blu-ray, and was so excited to get this one. This is just a movie that needed to be on Blu-ray. I love it. Nightmare Alley. The Parallax View, one of the great 70s paranoid thrillers. In the middle, I think, of Alan Pakula's trilogy between Clute and All the President's Men. This one about a senator, I believe, that's assassinated at the beginning of the film, and all the people that were in attendance on the day. It takes place, the assassination, in the Space Needle, I think, in Seattle, if I recall. And then those people start disappearing, and Warren Beatty plays a reporter who's trying to figure it out, and the conspiracy behind it is very vast and intriguing, and just a really fantastic thriller shot by, I think it's shot by, Gordon Willis. Yeah, just fantastic looking, too. But another one that I just love and was really happy to get. I don't think this had a Blu-ray before. I could be wrong, but a special edition Criterion is ideal, and really happy to get it. Some comedies, Bringing Up Baby, one of the great screwball comedies ever. Howard Hawks doing what he does in terms of screwball really, really well. Of course, you have Katharine Hepburn and Cary Grant, and just some hilarious goings-on. Just the template for a screwball comedy. And this has audio commentary with Bogdanovich. And a new interview about cinematographer Russell Meddy, which is very cool, with cinematographer John Bailey. Russell Meddy, really a guy you should look into. Really worked on a lot of fantastic movies, and I'm a big fan. But anyway, great release of Bringing Up Baby, finally. That one had been long overdue for Blu-ray. Another great comedy. And I love Albert Brooks's collaboration with the collection. We've gotten Lost in America, and now this. I really want them to do Modern Romance, but I have a Modern Romance from Indicator, so that's fine. But yeah, this is a great addition to Defending Your Life. One of the more fascinating examinations of the afterlife. Just the idea this guy gets in a bus accident, ends up in limbo, and then is sort of on trial to prove that he has overcome fear in his lifetime. And, meets a wonderful woman in limbo and is scared to lose her, and just very, very funny and fascinating look at the afterlife. A really great conversation between Brooks and filmmaker Robert Whitey. I really enjoyed that on this. Next we have Fast Times at Ridgemont High, a really cool entry in the collection. a comedy. Again, these are all comedies. I love when they do comedies. And this is really solid. I know there were some screenshots that circulated early on about the transfer, but I think the transfer looks good. It's supervised by Amy Heckerling, the director. It includes the audio commentaries that they've done previously with her and Cameron Crowe, which are absolutely wonderful. I love those. And it also includes the TV version of the film, which is really neat because you get to see alternate scenes and certain characters are more prominent in that. And yeah, I just really love that this includes the TV version as well. Just a really great release to have in the collection. Menace to Society. This is the new 4K. And of the 4 in basically the first round, where you have Mulholland Drive, Citizen Kane, Uncut Gems, and this, I think this is my favorite of the 4. And it has to do with the film, but also the supplements, because this film was part of the collection on Laserdisc and had been absent from the collection since the mid-90s, I think. I want to say that the commentaries were recorded in 1993, so that's probably about when that Laserdisc came out. So this had been out of the collection for that long, and it's great to have it back. Alan and Albert Hughes, really, really great filmmakers. And I remember listening to those commentaries on the Laserdisc, and really, they each have a separate commentary, which I love. I mean, it'd be nice to have them both together too, but I love that they each have their own commentary track and that they really go deep in terms of like what they did, like in this scene, this is what we were doing. This is the kind of setup we used, and we used the Steadicam here. And, they talk about story construction. It's just total film school in a box kind of stuff. And obviously a really impactful film, and great to see it on 4K. Yeah, there's some other good. There's a new conversation among Albert Hughes, screenwriter Tiger Williams, and film critic Elvis Mitchell that's great. There's another conversation with Alan Hughes and actor and filmmaker Bill Duke, and Mitchell Hughes. Sorry. Yeah, it's Alan Hughes, actor and filmmaker Bill Duke, and Elvis Mitchell interview from 1993 with the directors. So that's a cool thing. I can't remember if that was on the Laserdisc or not. But yeah, just really great stuff. And I love, again, how open they are about what they did and how they did it. And, I just really like these guys a lot. So this is my favorite of the new 4Ks. Let's see here. We've got some classics. Pick Up on South Street, probably my favorite Samuel Fuller film, and a movie that is just kind of wild, just the idea that you have a pickpocket played by the great Richard Widmark, who steals some microfilm from a woman who has gotten this, Soviet microfilm in her purse, and then it's a thing where the feds want the microfilm back, but that would mean that this hoodlum would have to admit that he stole it, and he's a 2-time loser, and 3 strikes means he goes to jail, so he's not about to give it up no matter what. Are you waving the flag at me? That whole thing. Really great stuff, and overdue on Blu-ray. And there's a new interview with film critic Imogen Sarah Smith, who I think is fantastic, and love having that on this disc as well. Incredible Shrinking Man, a sci-fi classic from the 1950s, 1957, based on the story or book by Richard Matheson. And yeah, just really nice transfer and good extras. I particularly like the conversation between Joe Dante and Dana Gould. That is very neat stuff. But yeah, I love the classic film entries. They continue to do this, and I don't want to see it decline it in any way. I love classic films on Blu-ray from Criterion. Speaking of which, High Sierra, Ida Lupino, Humphrey Bogart, Raoul Walsh directed, crime film sort of. And this one has a new conversation on Walsh between film programmer Dave Kerr and critic Farron Smith-Neme. Sorry, Farron. And yeah, that's a really great chat. I like that one a lot. And then there's something called The True Adventures of Raoul Walsh, which is a 2019 documentary on him. Lots of good stuff here, and this looks great. So definitely, if you're into the classic stuff, I think High Sierra has been marginalized a little bit or just not talked about as much, and it's really solid. So that's great. We have Ratcatcher, Lynn Ramsey's debut film, and an incredible debut film it is. I really, really responded to this when I first saw it. It really stood out and has made me keep tabs on her ever since. And so this has interviews with her from the DVD from 2002 and a new interview, as well as her shorts, Small Deaths, Kill the Day, and Gas Man, which are very cool. And essays by film critic Girish Shambhu and filmmaker Barry Jenkins. So a lot of respect for this film. Great debut. We have box set wise, we have the Melvin Van Peebles Essential Films. We lost Melvin this year, sadly, but thankfully this box set was already coming. And this includes his participation, and includes just lots of great stuff. Short films, interviews. It's really, really wonderful set. Don't Play Us Cheap, Sweet Sweetback, Watermelon Man, and Story of a 3-Day Pass in particular I would recommend folks check out. That's almost like his French New Wave movie almost. It's something like that, but he's really doing his own thing. But really happy to get this set from Criterion this year. Streetwise, a really, really powerful documentary about street kids in Seattle in the early 1980s. And it's just so compelling to see these kids living on the streets, making it sort of day by day in whatever ways they can, including prostitution. It's both funny and heartbreaking, and they're just fascinating characters, these kids. I know this is a movie that people were aware of prior to this, but I had not seen it, I don't think, until this year, though I did know about it because it was a little trickier to see for a minute. This also includes Tiny, the Life of Erin Blackwell, which is the girl on the cover. She's one of the characters in the film, and it's kind of like a 25 Up follow-up with her and where she's at. I want to say that's in 2013 or something. 2016, sorry. So really nice follow-up to the film to go with that. You get a whole other movie. And then, of course, Bill Duke's Deep Cover, which I love that Criterion put this out as well. Incredible performance from Lawrence Fishburne about a guy who basically at the beginning of the film sees his father shot to death after he's trying to commit a robbery, and then turns to be a cop himself, and then gets sort of drafted by the DEA to do undercover work as a drug buyer / drug dealer in Los Angeles. He's initially in Cleveland, I think, and ends up in LA. So then it becomes an LA movie. And, it's really got some interesting performances in it besides Lawrence Fishburne, Jeff Goldblum in a very kind of creepy evil role that you don't see too much. And this is really cool. It's got a new interview with Bill Duke, EFI Conservatory Seminar from 2018 featuring Duke and Lawrence Fishburne with Elvis Mitchell. New conversation between scholars Raquel J. Gates and Michael B. Gillespie about Deep Cover's place within both the black film boom of the early 90s and the noir genre. Just a lot of great extras on this. Really nice release. Looks good. Good stuff. Let's see. What else we got here? Dead Zone from Scream Factory. I think this also came out from Imprint. I like this Scream Factory edition. I want to say this is this year, right? Maybe I'm wrong. No, I think it is. Although it does say new 2020 scan on here. Forgive me if this isn't a 2021 release. I think it is, though. I'm pretty sure it is. Scan from original negative. Brooke Adams interview. Commentary with DP Mark Irwin, which is really fascinating, actually. But just a great adaptation of Stephen King. One of the great film adaptations of Stephen King's work with an mind-blowing performance from Christopher Walken. Just really, really outstanding stuff. And Martin Sheen, extra creepy here too. Okay, this one from Oscilloscope Laboratories. What Happened Was, really great, I think feature debut film from Tom Noonan, actor on the left there. And it's based on a play, I think, that he had been working on with Karen Silius. I want to say that's how you say her name. And they made it into a film, and it's incredibly mesmerizing stuff where it's just sort of like a first date kind of at the apartment of this woman who works as a paralegal. I think they're both kind of paralegals. I forget what their status is. I feel like he's like a little higher up in the law firm or wherever they're working, and he comes over to her house and they start talking, and there's a power dynamic there, and it eventually shifts in a weird and fascinating way. But I've loved this film since I saw it in the 90s, and it had been not really released too much. I don't know if it had much of a DVD release. Maybe there was one. I don't remember. But it's really good stuff, and there's a really cool interview with Tom Noonan talking about, how he came to make this film and how he was actually burning out on Hollywood studio filmmaking work and had developed like this twitch, and he couldn't get rid of it, and his therapist or whoever said, maybe you need to step back. And so he did, and he started writing and came up with this play, and then he sort of changed the direction of his life in some ways. But just a fascinating dude, Tom Noonan. I've always been a fan. So really nice to see Oscilloscope do a wonderful job with that. Mr. Jealousy, this is not anything in terms of like a huge special edition, but I've just been a fan of this sophomore release from Noah Baumbach from the 90s with Eric Stoltz and Annabella Sciorra. He also brings in Carlos Jacot from Kicking and Screaming and some other folks that I dug from previous films. But yeah, just about a guy who had a bad experience as a young person with a girlfriend that cheated on him and has been jealous of his girlfriends ever since and sort of spies on them. And there's a ridiculous screwball conceit where he becomes obsessed with Annabella Sciorra's ex-boyfriend, who's an author played by Chris Eigeman, and he joins his therapy group, and it is just bizarre. But I'm a fan, and I hadn't seen it on Blu-ray previous to this. This is from MVD. A very fun movie. The Court Jester. This is from Paramount Presents, and what a lovely transfer this is. This is just beautiful. I wasn't really like a giant Danny Kaye fan until I saw this movie, and I was just like, okay, I get it. I absolutely get it. It's a gorgeous film, VistaVision, and Danny Kaye opens the movie by basically singing about what the story is that you'll see, and it's just all about this court jester who, it says, in this swashbuckling comic farce starring Danny Kaye, is a kind-hearted entertainer, Hawkins, who disguises himself as the legendary king of jesters, Giacomo. Hawkins infiltrates the court of an evil villain, Basil Rathbone, but when a sorceress hypnotizes him, royal chaos ensues. Alternating identities at the snap of a finger between swordplay and wordplay. He's kind of like a Robin Hood-y type who then goes undercover as a court jester, but then he gets hypnotized and people keep snapping and he changes in. There's all kinds of funny stuff in this movie. And you get Glynis Johns and Angela Lansbury, both lovely in this. And this has a new filmmaker focus, quick conversation with Leonard Maltin, which is great. But I really came to appreciate The Court Jester this year. It's a classic, but it became more of a classic to me with this Blu-ray release, which looks great. Some from Imprint here. We have The President's Analyst from 1967. And this is a crazy satire about a therapist who gets hired by the then president of the United States to be his therapist. And then once he's talking to the president in secret, a lot of agencies, foreign agencies, want to try and kidnap him and find out, secrets, government secrets that he may have access to. And there's also this whole plot with the phone company being this gigantic conspiracy, which is really funny, as it kind of still works, today, even though now it's like not the phone company as much as it's stuff having to do with our phones. But a very funny movie, a great performance by James Coburn, and it's got a commentary by film historian Tim Lucas, which was wonderful. Then we have another from Imprint. We have The Gambler. This is a James Caan film written by James Toback, directed by Carol Rice, and just about a guy in New York who is a gambling addict and just kind of keeps getting himself in the hole and looks like he's going to get out, and then maybe he's going to screw it up again, and it's got a great tension about it. It's a really good performance by Caan, and Lauren Hutton and Paul Sorvino also star in this, but a very tense but enjoyable film from 1974. Definitely a fan of that. Those are both Blu-ray debuts from Imprint. Then we have the Inner Sanctum Mysteries collection. This is from Mill Creek. These are really neat, very short, about hour-long films. There's 6 of them contained here. All of them star Lon Chaney Jr., and they're kind of like proto-Twilight Zone-y, maybe like more like Night Gallery kind of things, but they're, black and white. I was a big fan of all of these, particularly Calling Dr. Death, the first one I really like a lot. And then we get some cool features on here. Select audio commentary with screenwriter Peter Atkins, film historian C. Courtney Joyner, Del Housen, author Justin Humphreys, and Regina Leborg. So, and then this archival interview with Martin Kolslek. So nice features and just a nice collection from, you know what, this might be from 2020. But anyway, I felt like I discovered this year, and I didn't mention it last year, and so I'm counting it. And even if it's not 2021 technically, which it may or may not be, I don't remember, but definitely snag this. Great set. What else have we got here? We've got this Don Knotts 5-film collection. I talked about this, or maybe I haven't yet. I can't remember if I posted the video, but I really like this collection. It doesn't have too much in the way of features. It has Don Knotts on the Red Skelton Show, Larry Karaszewski on The Ghost of Mr. Chicken and The Love God. I think it's both Larry. But it has Ghost of Mr. Chicken, Reluctant Astronaut, Shakiest Gun in the West, The Love God, and How to Frame a Fig. I'd only seen Ghost of Mr. Chicken and The Love God. And The Love God is super hilarious comedy about a guy who runs a bird watching magazine that gets taken over by, I want to say, mobsters, and it turned into more of a pornographic magazine, and it's just bizarre to see Don Knotts in that movie. And How to Frame a Fig is about him as an accountant working in a city council, and they get a computer and they want to try and cover up their nefarious dealings, and will he be smart enough to figure it out? They don't think so, but it's a fun one, and the others are great too. I just like a Don Knotts collection. Let's see here. We have People Next Door. This came out in the UK as well, I think from Indicator maybe? I can't remember now. But this is a Scorpion release. This is my preferred version because it has a new audio commentary from my friend Bill Ackerman, which I liked very much and which I do recommend, and a new interview with actor Don Scardino. This is kind of a drug panic movie, of some parents played by Eli Wallach and Julie Harris. Their daughter starts getting into acid and drugs, and they just freak out about it, and they try and, she gets institutionalized, and Hal Holbrook and I want to say Deborah Winters play their neighbor couple who are just kind of like pretending like everything is great with their family when in fact they've got their own issues they're dealing with. And it's, it's very interesting. It's a movie that I enjoyed, and there's something about that hysterical panic that is both hilarious and interesting to watch. But a cool movie I'd never seen before this year. What's So Bad About Feeling Good? This is neat because it is a home video debut, I think. I don't even know if this movie was on VHS. But it stars George Papard and Mary Tyler Moore. This has been programmed by Tarantino, I believe, at the New Beverly a few times. he's a big George Peppard fan. And this one is really neat and oddly prescient, as it's about a virus that gets loose in New York City from like a toucan kind of bird that, like, I can't remember if he breathes on you and you get it, but it's everybody in New York is super gloomy, and this virus makes you happy and optimistic. And it's weird. Like, those are the symptoms. It's not anything except it does something to your brain chemistry that makes you happy. And so it becomes a thing where, you know, the government is called in to try and control the virus, and Dom DeLuise is like a government higher up who's in charge of that, and they're trying to stop the spread of it. But at the same time, there's some folks that are like, we want to spread this virus because people need to feel happy, and George Peppard gets it. He gives it to Mary Tyler Moore. They're gloomy, and then they feel better. And anyway, fascinating movie. Like, I really kind of dug it. And this has Howard S. Berger and Nathaniel Thompson commentary, but great to see this on Blu-ray for the first time. I've got a couple more of these, actually. I'm just going to do those really quick. These are movies that didn't have much of a physical release. The Road to Selena by Georges Lautner, starring Mimsy Farmer and Robert Walker. Very strange, almost Antonioni-esque film about a drifter who comes to this like small wayside sort of gas station, and Mimsy Farmer thinks he's her estranged son, and he kind of goes along with it, and it gets weird. And I'm not going to say anything more about it, but it's a fascinating movie. I know my podcast partner, Elric Kane, is a huge fan of this one, as is Lars Nilsson from Austin Film Society. And yeah, another one that just didn't have much of a release prior to this. And this also has commentary Howard S. Berger, Steve Mitchell, and Nathaniel Thompson. Larry Karaszewski is a fan. His Trailers from Hell is here. Fascinating movie. Now I've got a couple that are going to be controversial in that they're notoriously not great movies, but I do like that they got Blu-ray releases. First one is also from Kino. This is Moment by Moment. This is, I think, Travolta's follow-up to Grease. And he and Lily Tomlin play, like, he's kind of a hustler that meets her at a drugstore and kind of starts stalking her a little bit. She's having trouble with her marriage, and he worked for her at one point as a valet or something. And they sort of become, you know, there's a dance of like hesitation, and then they become fascinated with each other. And it's kind of downbeat and sad, and I don't know, but it's a very interesting performance by Travolta. And I like Lily Tomlin in this as well. This is written and directed by her partner, longtime partner, Jane Wagner, and was just a big flop at the time. And so I think all involved have not wanted to talk about this movie, but I do think it's interesting. As much as it's not great, I think it's really an interesting film, and has a really neat commentary from Lee Gambin, Sergio Mims, and Maya Montanez Smuckler, like a roundtable chat about it, which is great. They give a lot of context for it and stuff. But really cool that Kino put this out. And then Nothing But Trouble from Shout Factory Select. I can't say a lot of great stuff about this movie. A lot of people hate it, but super goofy film with Dan Aykroyd playing many roles and directing and writing, and about a sort of rich couple played by Chevy Chase and Demi Moore, who end up in this small town called Vulcanvania, I think, and get trapped there because they had some traffic violation, and then they are kind of jerky to the judge who controls this small province, and they are punished. And yeah, again, gets really, really weird and is really unlike any other movie I've ever seen. But this has got a new interview with Dan Aykroyd, which is fascinating, and Chevy Chase talks about it, as well as interviews with other actors, production designers, and producers, and a commentary with film historian Russell Dyball, who I liked his track for Dragnet, and also this is a good one too. So Nothing But Trouble with a lot of extras from Shout Factory, and then some 4Ks and a few more things. I think I mentioned this, but I didn't highlight it, and I should have. Kino's 4K of Good, the Bad, and the Ugly looks very good. I'm a big fan of it, and this has a commentary by Tim Lucas and a Leonie's West making of documentary, and a whole bunch more stuff. But a really good looking 4K of one of the great westerns of all time, Sergio Leone's epic, masterpiece, most would say, with Clint Eastwood, Lee Van Cleef, and Eli Wallach. Great stuff. Smokey and the Bandit, I think, is from this year. And this 4K looks lovely and was just a reminder to me when I watched it how good this movie is. One of Hitchcock's favorite movies, and a movie that, towards the end of his life, and a movie that I just forgot how entertaining and charming and wonderful it is to watch. Just, story of a guy trying to transport a whole bunch of beer across state lines in the South, and he's pursued by a crazy sheriff played by Jackie Gleason, and he meets a bride on the run played by Sally Field, and just the Jerry Reed, Burt Reynolds chemistry is one of the great buddy pairings of all time. Directed by Hal Needham, great stunts and super funny. Just wonderful, wonderful film. So glad I got this 4K. The Sting, I got the Steelbook from Best Buy, I think. This is George Roy Hill. Obviously, it's Robert Redford, Paul Newman, Robert Shaw. Kind of following in the footsteps of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And just a great con movie, one of the great con movies of all time, and I forgot how much I love it. I love the Marvin Hamlish score. Just great, and the 4K looks wonderful too. That is good stuff. Okay, this one I'm mixed on, and I'll mention why. Most people probably know, but I love Donnie Darko. I love Richard Kelly. There was a problem with the theatrical cut, which is my preferred cut of the film that I like to watch, where the Blu-ray wouldn't play properly, the 4K wouldn't play properly in my player, and it took Arrow a really long time, I felt, to correct it, but they did, and thankfully it works now, but that was initially a bit frustrating. But regardless, it's a really nice job that they've done with this, multiple cuts of the film, tons of extras they're bringing over from their previous release, and I think a few new ones. I can't remember how much is new here, but regardless, the 4Ks do look nice, and it is a cult classic, and it's really nice to get it in this pristine condition. Again, huge Richard Kelly fan, glad to have that. This is a new 4K from Kino, Hard Target, John Woo's Hard Target. Crazy action movie, just bonkers. This movie is a movie, I kind of can't believe got made. It's, a spin on the Most Dangerous Game kind of thing where, the prey becomes the hunters kind of. And this is a case where Lance Henriksen runs this high-end hunting people business where he finds homeless people and others that he can pay to get hunted and killed. And then he makes the mistake of trying to rope in Jean-Claude Van Damme, and it goes nuts from there. And this features one of the most insane climaxes of any film in terms of the conflict at the end that I've ever seen to this day. It's just a movie that truly, again, it's bonkers for a studio film. It's just crazy. This 4K looks really nice. And you have audio commentary with film historians Brandon Bentley and Mike Leader from Hard Boiled to Hard Target, an interview with director John Woo. That's on the Blu-ray. Henriksen versus Von Damme, interview with actor Lance Henriksen. Hard Times and the Big Easy, interview with actress Yancy Butler. And Gun Fu and Van Damage, interview with stunt coordinator Billy Burton. So a lot of great features on the Blu-ray. You can get the Blu-ray separate from this 4K, but both the Blu-ray and the 4K are included here. I do recommend the 4K as it looks really nice. Great detail, great color. So this one, maybe people won't talk about as much because it's just come out, but I had to throw it in the mix for sure. And speaking of crazy action movies, this is not a 4K, but Stunt Rock, Brian Trenchard Smith's Stunt Rock from Umbrella Entertainment gets a wonderful Blu-ray here, and this movie is crazy. It's all about film stuntman Grant Page, who's the star of the film, and the movie is really just this very loose plot of him as a stuntman, as himself, filming these crazy stunts and talking to people, and it's like, you could say the sort of lowball pitch is the original Jackass, but what he's doing is not as goofy. It's genuinely kind of breathtaking and terrifying, the stunts he's doing, high jumps, crazy, lets himself get hit by a car and actually gets hurt.
But the other thing that's interesting about this is it combines that with this crazy metal band, rock band called Sorcery. And so we get their music playing over the movie. We get scenes of them in the studio recording. They're just a crazy looking band, including a guy with a Mexican wrestling mask that plays piano. That's just nuts. But this movie is just crazy because it's just one stunt after another. But Grant Page is very charming and fun to watch. And yeah, I really enjoy Brian Trenchard Smith's work on this one. This has a lot of features. New conversation with Brian and Margaret Trenchard Smith, extended interviews from Not Quite Hollywood with Trenchard Smith and Grant Page, 2008 audio commentary with Trenchard Smith and cast members Grant Page and Margaret Trenchard Smith, 2009 audio commentary with Trenchard Smith and producer Marty Fink and actor Richard Blackburn, 2009 introduction to the film, 2009 interviews, Trenchard Smith. I mean, just tons of stuff. This is a really wonderful release, and it's all region from Umbrella Entertainment. This one just recently came out as well, and I just watched it last night, and it was just the ticket for what I needed. One of those perfect movies for the perfect moment, and I'm like, I got to include this in my favorites because it really just was absolutely wonderful to watch. And then last but not least, this is from Kino and Scorpion. This movie is called Track Down, starring Jim Mitchum and Ann Archer and Eric Estrada, about a guy whose sister, kind of like Hardcore, the George C. Scott, Paul Schrader movie, where his daughter goes to LA and gets caught up in pornography. This is Jim Mitchum is on a farm in, I can't remember what rural area, but his sister runs away to LA and gets caught up in a sort of sex trafficking, prostitution thing with Ann Archer. And he has to go out there and try and figure it out, bring small town justice to Los Angeles, and the cops won't help him. And so he kind of has to take it on his own. And it gets pretty intense in terms of like the conflict between he and this criminal enterprise. But yeah, this is another Elric Kane favorite. Really nice to see it get a good Blu-ray. No real features to speak of, but another one that just didn't have a lot of greatness in terms of, it had a DVD release actually from Shout Factory, but really great to see a Blu-ray release of this. Anyway, that's it for this round. I don't know if I have another round in me, but I just thought, while I was putting together the Criterion list, suddenly I was like, oh, there's a bunch of other stuff here I should talk about as well. So hopefully this is something you guys enjoy. Let me know in the comments below if there's anything here that you guys have picked up and liked. And subscribe to the channel if this is the kind of content you dig. So thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.